Hello, folks. How are we doing? I think we are recording. Let's find out. Yes, we are. Hi. I don't know if my microphone's working, though. Hang on a second. I got to check this thing out. I haven't checked anything. I'm so unprepared for class. It's awful. How are you doing, everybody? I hope you're doing well. Today's the 18th day of June 2025. As you can see, it's about 6:30 in the evening. As you can see, I've made a slight adjustment to my meme. One of my memes, my award-winning memes, my awesome trend-setting memes. Isn't it sad? Isn't it sad how easily our president is manipulated by certain men? Vince McMahon, most of the wrestlers in the WWE, Jeffrey Epstein, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, by the way, he's the one who stuck him with J.D. Vance, and of course, Bibi Netanyahu. I know you can't really see because of the glare. Anything too light colored doesn't pick up that well. But that is Bibi Netanyahu. That is TrumpyBear. There's some. I want to talk about something. There's a couple of little news things going on, but I'm not going to come at you like some people come at you and say, "That's it. We're at war. It's war now." It's not war yet. Don't rush it, boys and girls. One guy, I'm not going to mention his name. I mention it all the time, Kyle Kowalski. But I'm not going to mention his name. He's pissed off that the Congress is trying to pass some form of a revision to War Powers Resolution, which prevents Donald Trump from dropping a MOAB on a foreign country that's done nothing to us, literally nothing to us. He doesn't think we should do that. He thinks Congress should instead be debating back and forth whether they should impeach TrumpyBear. This is when you let your fucking Trump derangement syndrome get so far out of control that you fail to pay attention to what's going on and what's really important at the moment. Yeah, he should be impeached. But let's try to stop him from setting off World War III first. And then maybe we'll impeach him. TrumpyBear said something interesting today. I'm not even going to call him president. He's not a president. TrumpyBear, that one, currently fucking doing the number for Bibi Netanyahu. TrumpyBear said something very interesting today, and I thought I would remind you of it if you didn't see it. He said it twice, not once but twice. There's some kind of firefighters thing going on in the standing behind him at a desk. He surrounds himself with props. These props are people who have lives, but that's what he does. He was answering questions about what happens with Iran and whether or not we're going to. He goes, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know. I haven't made my mind up yet. About dropping bombs in a country that's done nothing to us. He goes, but they can't have a nuclear weapon. They just can't have a nuclear weapon. Says who? Says who? Says a guy who murdered Soleimani. If he gave the order, I doubt he gave the order because he was having beautiful cake with President Xi at the time. And as he says, he lets his generals do all that shit. But let's just say the buck stops with him on his desk because he is, by the way, commander-in-chief and was when that bomb was dropped. A man who, again, had done nothing to us. Killed him. That guy says Iran can't have nuclear weapons. He goes, I don't know. They'll use it. I wrote something about that today. I did. And I'm going to read that to you in a second. About that kind of thinking. By the way, it's not positive. But I wanted to share that with you, and I wanted to share some statistics with you and the fate of somebody inside military leadership who seems to agree with us what happened to him. But today, Donald Trump, TrumpyBear, said something very interesting. He said, we were close. We were close. We were this close. We were this close to having a deal with Iran, but now it's too late. I mean, that was a week ago. Now it's too late. This is way too late. That was a week ago. We were this close. And we would have had one Sunday if a criminal aggressor regime hadn't decided to literally bomb that fucking deal out of existence. A criminally aggressive regime that possesses 200 illegal nuclear weapons and refuses to allow inspectors in to inspect their enrichment facilities. A criminally aggressive move from a regime that is currently committing genocide and ethnic cleansing and using starvation as a weapon of war. A regime that is allowing Russian and Chinese citizens to leave Israel, but not allowing American citizens to leave Israel and dual citizens to leave Israel because they want Americans to die so that then the American people will get behind their war of aggression against Iran, which their current leader has been calling for. That guy right there getting a hand job from TrumpyBear for 30 fucking years. He said 30 years ago that Iran was 1 to 3 years away from making a nuclear weapon and we got to stop them. He said that 30 fucking years ago. Iran was not making a nuclear weapon, had no intention of making a nuclear weapon, didn't have a nuclear weapon program. It's literally against their fucking religion. It's literally against their religion. But none of that matters to our leadership, to TrumpyBear. But he did point out we were this close to a deal before our ally blew the fucking deal out of the water. Why? Because they think Iran's making a weapon? Of course not. They're not stupid. They're liars. They did it because they want to continue stealing land in the Middle East. It's just that fucking simple. It's just that fucking obvious. And Iran opposes it. I saw Mehdi Hassan talking to Piers Morgan. And Mehdi was trying to tell him some truth, but then Piers Morgan hit him with, Mehdi's like, listen, you say that Israel has a right to defend itself, fine. However, and he was going towards, doesn't Iran have a right to defend itself? Because Iran doesn't have nukes, but Israel does. And Israel's been talking about regime changing and bombing fucking Iran for 30 years. Don't you think Iran has a right to defend themselves? But before he could say it, out comes, but Iran has been supporting Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis. The axis of evil, the new axis of evil. And what could Mehdi say? What could Mehdi say? Because Mehdi is one of those folks out there, supposedly pro-Palestinian, pro-anti-war, pro-ceasefire, who makes sure at every fucking drop of every hat, he goes, I don't support Hamas. Hamas is a terrorist organization. Well, fuck you. Now you can't say jack shit. Now you can't say jack shit. The Houthis suffered under a dictator that we propped up for 30 fucking years in the poorest fucking country in the Middle East. The richest, one of the richest families in the Middle East, Saleh and his fucking family, super wealthy, super corrupt. They overthrew him and they took control of Yemen. What part of that makes them evil? We sent in ISIS to destabilize the Houthis. ISIS, who hates the radical Islam, went after the Houthis. ISIS. Why the fuck would ISIS go after the Houthis? They didn't go after Israel. They went after the Houthis. What exactly did the Houthis do that made them the axis of evil? They opposed genocide, ethnic cleansing, and using starvation as a weapon of war. And mass punishment of the population in order to get what they want. That's what Israel was doing to Gaza and Palestinians. They opposed that. That's their crime. That's their crime. Hezbollah. Hezbollah stands for defending the Lebanese people from the incursions of the Israelis to steal their land, such as, 2006, when Condi Rice said it was the birth pangs of a new Middle East. Remember that shit? Evil. And Hamas was elected in 2005, 2006 because they are a resistance government. They are not a Vichy government. They are a resistance government. The Vichy government was in the West Bank. It's Fatah, the Palestinian Authority. Hamas in Gaza were elected because the people in Gaza didn't want to bend the knee to the Israelis. That's the axis of evil. And Mehdi Hassan can't say that because he and so many others have painted themselves into a corner. Hamas is evil, the terror organization, but I support the Palestinians. Well, fuck you. No, you don't. Not after you say that, because you give people like Piers Morgan an easy out. Now, again, the response to that would be, that's got nothing to do with Iran, but Iran supports them. Ergo, Iran would take a nuke and launch it immediately, which is the dumbest thing in the world. I've said this for decades. So what if Iran had a nuclear weapon? If I were president, I'd give them one. Here you go. Here's a nuclear weapon. This is how you use it. It is deterrence. It is not a weapon. It would be suicide for Iran to launch one fucking measly nuke at Israel while Israel launches 200 back at Iran. That would be it. That would be over. It is racist to suggest that simply because they are Arab, because they are Muslims, that as soon as they get a big stick, they're going to boom, blow it up. Blow up the world because they hate the Jews so much. The only lasting, long-standing hatred that I see is coming from the Zionists and the neocons towards the Iranians and the Houthis and Hezbollah and Hamas because they're getting in their way. That's why Iran can't have a nuke. Because then Iran would have the same deterrence factor that North Korea has, and they would be untouchable. You can't touch them. That's why they don't want them to have a nuke. Simple as that. But TrumpyBear said that today. He said, you can't have a nuke because they just launch it. People are telling you we are already at war with Iran. No. TrumpyBear also said that he doesn't know what he's going to do yet. And they could be making a deal They're ready to make a deal. Him and his big deals. I just can't get over that MAGA draft. That's right, MAGA folks. You best get ready. Get your cards ready. Get your draft cards ready. There you go. That's what you voted for. I didn't vote for that. Let me show you what I wrote today. Let me give you a little bit of news. We'll wrap this thing up. All right. From The Intercept, U.S. intel says Iran isn't a nuclear threat. Israel wants to bomb us to bomb them anyway. It's a good article here talking about the fact that, and I posted this from like a month and a half ago. Tulsi Gabbard talking about, this is from Responsible Statecraft, talking about Iran's not building nukes. And she told the senators this back in March 25th of this year. And nobody wants to listen. Nobody wants to listen. Macron has contradicted Donald Trump on regime-changing Iran. Israel's killed another 70 Palestinians in at this fucking Gaza Humanitarian Foundation thing. I saw somebody's numbers on this. Gaza Humanitarian Foundation's been in operation for 27 days. They've killed over 400 people. They've killed 400 people distributing aid in Gaza. And it continues. Yesterday, 70 were killed. 70. And they're launching, it's not just fucking, AK-47s. They're using tanks to shoot at these people. They say, okay, we got an aid set up over here. Go get the aid. And they come get the aid and they blow them up. It's just fucking despicable. Anyway, here is the U.S. Congress moves to block Trump from launching a war in Iraq and Iran. And that's a bipartisan thing. There's a lot of people. I'll show you some stats in a second. There's a lot of people on both sides who are absolutely opposed to all this. I wrote this morning. A single nuke in the hands of the Iranians is a deterrent, not a threat. It is racist to think they would launch immediately after develop one, and stupid because the only nations they supposedly would target each have over 200 nuclear weapons. So that threat line of propaganda is not only ignorant and racist at its core, but it depends on the target audience being both of those to work. It is ludicrous to think we are currently listening to leaders of a nation who are in the process of committing genocide and ethnic cleansing, and who also possess 200 illegal nuclear weapons when they breathlessly screech about the possibility of Iran developing one. Iran is not committing genocide for the purpose of land acquisition. Israel is. Iran is not using starvation as a weapon of war. Israel is. Iran is not in the process of trying to expand its borders and remake the Middle East so they can become a major regional player. Israel is. This is absurd. If you stand with Israel at this point, you are mentally ill. And I mean that 100%. 100%. If you stand with Israel at this point, you are mentally ill. It doesn't matter how you got that way. It doesn't matter if you were propagandized into it. It doesn't matter if you were gaslit into it. It doesn't matter if they made you afraid of the Iranians or the Houthis or the Hezbollah or Hamas hiding under your bed. It doesn't matter how you got that way. You are mentally fucking ill if you still stand with Israel at this point. Period. End of discussion. I want to read you this, and that'll be the end of this video today. This is from The Cradle. Our worst ally. Top Pentagon official sacked for criticizing U.S. support to Israel. U.S. Colonel Nathan McCormick, the head of the Levant and Egypt branch of the Joint Chiefs of Staff J5 Planning Directorate, was removed from his position this week after he criticized Washington's unwavering support for Israel on social media. Quote, our worst ally. We get literally nothing out of the partnership other than the enmity of millions of people in the Middle East, Africa, and Asia, McCormick said in one of several posts discovered by the Jewish News Syndicate on a semi-anonymous X account allegedly linked to him. The U.S. has not been an honest broker. We have overwhelmingly enabled Israel's bad behavior, he adds. In another post, the senior military official calls... Why is that highlighted? I have no idea. In another post, a senior military official calls Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his coalition government Judeo-supremacist cronies who are determined to prolong the conflict for their own goals, either to remain in power or to annex the land. Both, by the way. Israel's actions over decades have prompted the accusations of ethnic cleansing and genocide, another post reads. He also charged Western states of going to great lengths to avoid criticism of Israel, much out of Holocaust guilt, and, since June 2024, referred to Israel as a death cult. In response to the JNS report, an unnamed Pentagon official confirmed McCormick will no longer be on the joint staff while the matter is being investigated, added that the Defense Department is assigning an investigating officer to examine the content and its implications. The individual is being returned to his service while the matter is being investigated, the U.S. official added. The JNS revelations coincided with a new poll, dig this, conducted by YouGov and The Economist, which shows that 60% of U.S. adults oppose Washington's involvement in Israel's war against Iran. Among those who voted for Trump in 2024 election, 53% say the U.S. should stay out of the war, 19% support the involvement, and 28% remain unsure. That means 28% said, I don't want to go on record with this. One way or the other. Either Peter Thiel's Palantir is going to attack me for siding with Iran. 60% of people in this country oppose it, openly oppose it, state that they oppose it. And I guarantee there's another 25, 26% that say, well, we're not going to go on record. Only 19% of people who say they voted for Trump in 2024, only 19% support this fucking illegal action taking place in Iran. 19%. Do I think 19? It's fair to say 19% of the country is fucking totally mentally ill? Sure, why not? Are they at fault? I don't know. Some are, some aren't. Are you at fault when you're mentally ill? I don't know. Not a doctor, not a psychiatrist. I don't pretend to be one. But that doesn't mean I can't say, you are. This is remarkable. The situation we are in right now, as it stands, is remarkable. A Pentagon official stating the obvious, clearly the obvious. Nothing more, nothing less. Not what you would call a hot take. Has to be fucking dismissed. And they have a Jewish network that's scouring the fucking landscape to try to find people who have the wrong mindset, don't have their mind right, so they can be punished because they're not supporting a foreign nation enough while that foreign nation commits genocide, ethnic cleansing, using starvation as a weapon of war, and kicking off fucking wars of aggression for land acquisition. This is, I saw some people talking about this in relation to, the Bush-Cheney days. Look, I've said before, I'll say it one more time. This is not going to go his way. If he does drop a Moab on, if he tries to kill the Ayatollah, if he drops a Moab on the fucking plant, the centrifuge, the main centrifuge, if he does these things on his own, without getting approval, first of all, from Congress, which he won't get, it's deeply problematic and should be short-lived. He might be removed for Article 25 or whatever the hell that is, to say he's incapacitated. Because 1 second he says he's not going to do it, 1 second he says he's got a deal, 1 second he says, fuck the deal, I don't care, I'm going to blow him up. 1 second he doesn't like fucking Netanyahu, the next second he's jerking him off in the middle of the street in front of his own fucking people. Fuck shooting somebody on Fifth Avenue. Donald Trump thinks he can jack off the leader of another fucking country in the middle of Fifth Avenue, and his supporters will still love him. I don't think that we're down to 19%. TrumpyBear. Keep fucking around. See how low that can go. I don't think that's World War III. If he tries to do this. If he doesn't. What I fear is this. Netanyahu said that it was CENTCOM 10 miles down the road. If you don't see me after today making this video, posting this video, there you go. Go look 10 miles south. CENTCOM right down here. He says CENTCOM told him that they were days away from a nuclear weapon, which of course is bullshit. He knows it's bullshit. I don't think they would do that, but then again, how are you going to check? CENTCOM is a highly fucking secretive location, and you can't just walk in there with a fucking reporter and a fucking pencil and a pad and ask them questions. But here's the problem. We got the generals in Syria to kill Assad and his wife and his brother for us, so we could replace him, so that Israel could start busting off bigger pieces of Syria for greater Israel, which is what's been happening. We control generals in other countries by buying them. The military-industrial complex does. Ours are bought as well. To think that it's the only generals and military leaders who are corrupt live in other countries is ridiculous. It's Fantasyland. What concerns me is that knowing the numbers that we just talked about and the polls we just talked about, they understand that leaping into something like this on behalf of another country is going to be really hard to fucking do. Even for Trump supporters. Like I said, 19%. But what would fix it for them would be if a Iranian-backed militia were to do something to U.S. servicemen and women in one of our bases overseas. Probably Iraq. Somewhere along those lines. Saudi Arabia, maybe. That would change things. That would change the metric of things. And of course, we run those Iranian-backed militias. We run them. That concerns me a lot, because that would change a lot of things. No congressmen, while their flag-draped coffins are coming back and being loaded off of planes, no congressman's going to fucking step up and say we need to do a fucking War Powers Act. Nobody on CNN's going to be saying what they're saying now. Piers Morgan's going to change his whole fucking story. Most fucking alt media will. And that 19%, that's what concerns me. That's what concerns me. Not TrumpyBear. That's what concerns me. And of course, an order like that wouldn't come from the White House. It might come from Peter Thiel. It might come from J.D. Vance. But it wouldn't come from Donald Trump. I'm probably going to get a strike for that one, but I'm still going to use that as it's the worst Photoshop ever. The numbers, his numbers on this are bad. All the propaganda, all the Hasbro has failed. People in Israel are having a hard time. You know, there's curfews and they can't leave the country unless you're rich and you can afford to rent a yacht. They're worried. They're afraid. They're frightened. Like back in 1973, and very, very few have been alive that long. Can understand that and can know that feeling. This is a bad time to be an Israeli. And typically, I mean, they look around and go, where's the sympathy from the rest of the world? It's such an issue. Netanyahu had to give a speech today to the fucking Israelis saying, the world stands with us. We are still the victims and beloved. He's lying through his teeth. He knows he's lying through his teeth. All the Israelis know he's lying through his teeth. The rest of the world is looking at the Israelis and they're going, well, when the rest of the world is looking at Gaza and 16,000 dead children, and they're going, oh my God, just please fucking stop. And they take polls in Israel, and Israel's like, yeah, get them all, kill them. 80, 85, 86, 87% approval for killing children, and that's the population in Israel. Now all of a sudden this is happening, and Israel's going, where's our sympathy? Where's our sympathy? Do you hate us because we're Jewish? No, dear. We hate you because you don't care about 16,000 dead children. We hate you because you can turn your back on other human beings so fucking easily. Can you call me back in about 3-4 minutes? All right, thanks. Bye. That's why. And it's not hate. It's not hate. It's hard to empathize with monsters. It's hard to empathize with monsters. Maybe you use this as a learning moment and go, oh, yeah, the suffering we're feeling now, we've been imposing on somebody else. And people in Syria, and people in fucking Lebanon, and people in fucking Gaza, and Palestine, and the West Bank, and people in fucking Iran. Because remember, a week ago, we were this close to a deal, according to the TrumpyBear here, this close. And Bibi bombed it out of existence. And they want sympathy from us. Empathy from us. I think empathy, like respect, is earned. And right now they have 0 credit. 0. We'll see how this goes. I hope I'm right, and TrumpyBear's positioning for his deal of the century. I hope I'm wrong, that someone somewhere is thinking of a fast and easy way to get back the American public on board with this. I really hope I'm wrong about that. But we will see. I will post some more information for you tomorrow, or if anything happens this evening, I will post a quick video up for you on that. Okay? I thank you guys for your time. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye.